Perek, bottom of DAF Chaf Hey Amid Beis. The Mishnah had told us a story that there was once in the city of Lod that they had instituted a Taanis, and we know that there's a machlokas that if the rain falls before the day is over, then you don't have to commence with the fast. So it started to rain, and they didn't want to commence the psak was it started to rain before V'yodalhem Kodem Chatzos, before midday. So therefore the psak that they received was, Rabbi Tarfon said, go home, break your fast, everything's fine. And then when they came back in the evening and they recited Hallel. So the Gemara's question is, V'nei Mahalel Meikara? Why not say Hallel right away? As soon as it starts raining, why go home first and then break your fast and then say Hallel? Abaye v'Rava Damri Turavaya Lefi she'ein omrim Hallel ela al nefesh seveya v'keres maleya. They both say because you can only recite Hallel in a state of happiness, so you have to have a sated soul and a full belly in order to be able to recite Hallel properly. If you're hungry, your Hallel is going to be a shvacha Hallel. So the Gemara says, Eini, is this really so? V'harav papa ikla levei kinishta da abi gubar v'gazer tainis v'yardu lahem gishamim ad chatzos v'omer Hallel v'achar kach achlu v'shasu. What about the following story? Rav Papa once was davening in this particular synagogue called the Abi Gubar synagogue, and there was a fast that day, and it started to rain before Chatzos. So he led the tzibur, and he said Hallel immediately, and then they went and broke their fast. So why did they say Hallel before eating? The Gemara answers, Shiny b'nei mechuza t'shchichi b'hu shichrus. Rav Papa knew his customers. In mechuza, people tended to overindulge. They used to drink too much. And he was fearful that if they went home to drink and break their fast, they wouldn't be in a state to be able to say Hallel. Let's not make any analogies whatsoever.
You mean by nightfall? Like later?
What? Yeah, if they came back later in the evening to say Hallel, they would be shikker. But I do want to point out this does have a very practical application. Motzoi Yom Kippur, it's proper to say Kiddush Levana, as we all know. But the Mishnah Berurah says really what you're supposed to do is go home, break your fast first, and then come back and say Kiddush Levana. Why? For the very reason the Gemara says, since Kiddush Levana is supposed to be said in a state of happiness, how can you be so happy if you're starving? So therefore, that would really be the more appropriate thing to do. But why then do we not do it that way? Because we're worried no one's going to come back. So we say it after the Taanis. But that's why I feel it's more appropriate. And for this reason and for other reasons as well, there's a machlokus in the poskim whether you should say Kiddush Levana on Motzoi Shabbos Shuvah or Motzoi Yom Kippur. Which one is preferable? I hold it's preferable to say it Motzoi Shabbos Shuvah. This is one of the reasons, because at least Motzoi Shabbos Shuvah you'll be in a state of gladness because you have a full stomach. This year we may not be able to say it because Shabbos Shuvah is right after Rosh Hashanah. It may be too early, but we'll have to look at the calculations. But in general, it's proper to, in my opinion, to say it Motzei Shabbos Shuvah. Hadron alach seder ta'ani osei. Okay. Bishlosha prakim bashana kohanim nosin es kapehem arba pa'amim biyom. There are three different kinds of liturgical days where the liturgy demands that the kohanim duchen 4 times a day. B'shachris, b'musaf, b'mincha, u'v'neilas sha'arim. The 4 prayer services are Shacharis, Musaf, and Mincha, and then Ne'ilah. Now, there's 2 different opinions Rashi brings why it's called Ne'ilah Sasharim, the closing of the gates. Either it's because it's the time at the end of the day when they close the physical gates of the temple, or it's the closing of the gates of prayer in heaven because the day is coming to an end. And that's the latter way is what we're normally used to understanding it when we learn about Yom Kippur, Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur. But the point is that the prayer of Ne'ilah was not just instituted for Yom Kippur like we have it today, but it was instituted for 2 other kinds of fast days. So they are B'tanios, Uv'ma'amados, Uv'yom HaKippurim. If there was a fast day, because there's a drought, so that fast day would have an additional prayer service called Ne'ilah. And the Ma'amad service, which we're going to learn about presently, also was a fast day. And as Rashi tells us the background information, we know what a mishmar is. A mishmar is a shift of kohanim. They divided up Eretz Yisrael into 24 sectors, And when your sector was called up for active duty, you, as a Kohen or a Levi, you showed up in Yerushalayim for that week, and you served for that week. So on average, you would serve 2 weeks in active duty out of the year as a Kohen or a Levi. Let's say I live in Haifa, and I have the Haifa sector, right? So therefore, as a Kohen or a Levi, I go to Yerushalayim during that week, 2 weeks out of the year. There's also something called the Ma'amad, which means that all of the Yisraelim in that sector also have a certain responsibility. And the way it works is as follows. As we'll see, it's necessary for Jews who are stam, not Kohanim, not Leviim, to be davening that Hashem should accept the korban, the korbanos of the day. And therefore you you divided the Jews, the Yisraelim in Yerushalayim into 24 groups. And the Jews of Yerushalayim would appear over standing by the korbanos. But at the same time, the Jews of the Haifa sector, for example, would gather in the Beis HaKnesses during their week, when it was the week of the Haifa sector, and they would pray special prayer services and fast during that entire week.
In Haifa.
In Haifa. It was and then the following week it would be in Akko, and then it would be and then it would be in Tveria, and then it would be in the Beersheba, different sectors, all different parts of Eretz Yisrael. But for that week, they would be fasting, and they would have additional prayer service, which would include Ne'ilah, plus fasting. And we're going to learn more about this momentarily. Eluhein ma'amados. And the reason for having ma'amados is as follows. Lefi shenamar, because it says in the Torah, Tzavis b'nei Yisrael es korban nilachmi, because it says to give command to the Jewish people that they shall offer my korban, my bread. V'chiheich korbano shel adam karei v'hu eino amin al gabav. How can a person bring a korban that is really being representative of that individual and not being standing by? So whenever you bring a communal korban, you really need a representation of the Jewish people by the korban. So therefore, hiskinu neviim harishonim esrim ve'arba mishmaros. And therefore, the early prophets instituted 24 sectors. Al kol mishmar mishmar hayamamad b'Yerushalayim shel kohanim shel levim v'shel Yisraelim. That for each sector there was a representation in Jerusalem. The Kohanim and Leviim would come from all over different parts of the country, depending upon whose sector had active duty. And then there was a representation of Jews, Yisraelim, from Yerushalayim that would accompany them in the temple to stand by the korban. And simultaneous to that, the Jews of that sector in Haifa, let's say, would gather into their synagogues in Haifa and have special davening and fasting that Hashem should accept the korbanos. Higiyazman hamishmar la'alos kohanim u'levim olim liyerushalayim v'Yisrael sheba'oso mishmar miskansin li'areim v'korin b'maaseh bereishis. So when the Haifa sector, for example, came, time for active duty, the Kohanim and Levim from Haifa would go to Yerushalayim, and the Yisraelim of Haifa would gather into their synagogues, and they would have special Torah reading for that entire week. They would read the first chapter of Genesis. We'll read the parentheses. I'm not sure why they're taken out, but we'll read them anyway. The people of the Maimad would fast 4 days out of that week, from Monday through Thursday. They did not fast on Friday because you're not supposed to enter into Shabbos in a ravenous state. And they would not fast on Sunday because this would be medically unhealthy. Why? Because if you had rich foods on Shabbos, to go from stark eating of rich foods to starving to fasting completely is unhealthy. So therefore, Sunday and Friday they were off the hook, but Monday through Thursday they had to fast. The Yom Harishon, obviously they could eat at night, but it was just during the day. Right? B'Yom Harishon Bereshis V'Yehi Rakia. So this was the Torah reading that they had Sunday through Friday, okay? On Sunday they read the first paragraph which describes the first day of creation, and then they read the second paragraph which describes the second day of creation. Why did they read about the second day of creation on the first day? The answer is because you need to have, in order for the Torah reading to be valid, you need to have 3 people getting aliyahs, Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael. You need to have each person read 9 psukim, and you don't have 9 psukim in the first day of creation. You don't have 9 psukim in any one day of creation, so therefore you need to have 2 paragraphs, first day and second day and third day and fourth day, etc. B'sheni hi rakia v'yikavu amayim. On Monday, they would read about the second and third day of creation. B'shlishi yikavu amayim v'yihima oros. On Tuesday, they would read about the third and fourth day of creation. B'revi yihima oros v'yishritzu hamayim. On Wednesday, they would read about the fourth and fifth day of creation. B'chamishi yishritzu hamayim v'sotzei ha'aretz. On Thursday, they would read about the fifth and sixth day of creation. Bashishi v'totzei ha'aretz v'yichlu hashamayim. On Friday, they would read about the sixth and day of creation and Shabbos, Vayichlu Hashamayim. Parsha Gedola Korin Osa B'Shnayim V'Aktana B'Yachid, and there would invariably be one portion that was larger than the other. In other words, one portion would have, let's say, 5 psukim, and another one would have 4 psukim, or however it was broken down. So the paragraph that would have the larger number of psukim would have 2 aliyahs, and the paragraph that would have the smaller number of psukim would be a smaller aliyah, would be only 1 aliyah. So if, let's say, the first paragraph was larger than the second, so then the Kohen and Levi would divide up the first, and the Yisrael would get the third, with the second paragraph, I mean. And if it was the larger paragraph was second for that day, then the Kohen would get the first paragraph, and the Levi and the Yisrael would divide the second paragraph. B'shachris b'musaf u'v'mincha nichnasin v'koren alpian k'koren eshema. And then it says something which seems to contradict what we've just said, that during the prayer services of Shachris, Musaf, and Mincha, they would gather into the synagogue, they would recite the Torah readings Ba'al Peh, verbatim, not reading from a Torah scroll, but just reading it Ba'al Peh, as if they were reciting Kriya Shema. And it seems like this contradicts what we just saw a moment ago, which seems like they're reading it from a Sefer Torah, because it says V'korin, they read it. So how can you read something that you're reciting Ba'al Peh? So the Gemara is going to have to clarify this. Erev Shabbos b'mincha lo hayu nichnasim mivnei kavod Shabbos. On Friday afternoon, however, at Mincha, they did not do the special Torah reading because they wanted to get ready for Shabbos. Kol yom sheyesh bo halal ein bo mamid b'shachris. That any day of the Maimed where they would recite Hallel, then they would forego the special liturgy for the Maimed of that day. They wouldn't recite the special Torah reading from Genesis. And the reason is because davening was long enough because of Hallel. Now imagine if we did that today. We said, you know what, davening's long enough today, we're going to cut something out. This was a special accommodation because the Anshe Maimed had a special addendum that was unique to them. So because davening was already long enough, because they were saying Hallel that day, let's say it's Hanukkah or whatever, so they didn't have to recite the special additional stuff for the Maimed. Korban Musaf Ein Bani'ila. Now, if it was a day that not only were they reciting Hallel, but they were davening Musaf that day, so not only would they not recite the extra liturgy in Shacharis, they could forgo the extra liturgy in Mincha, and even in Ne'ilah, they could forgo the extra liturgy, because basically the attitude was, you've davened enough today. You don't have to say all of the additional things that day.
But they still said Ne'ilah.
But they still said Ne'ilah, but they didn't have to add the additional liturgical Genesis reading. Okay, Korban Eitzim Ein Bo B'Mincha. And a day when there was a Korban Eitzim, as we're going to learn in a moment, during the Second Temple era, there were 9 celebratory days out of the year, which were known as the days of giving wood, of donating wood. You donated wood for the ma'aracha, for the wood pile in the Beis HaMikdash. And if you wanted to participate, you could only give on those 9 days and join together with specific families that were designated for those days. And so if it was a day of wood donation, so that was an additional celebratory, there was probably some additional liturgical stuff to say for that day. So therefore, you could dispense with, if you're a member of the Maimed, you could dispense with the recital of the Genesis material at Shacharis and at Mincha, but you still had to say it at Ne'ilah. So that's Divrei Rabbi Akiva, that's according to Rabbi Akiva. Amar lo Ben Azai, so Ben Azai disagrees, he says, no, you got to switch it around. Kacha Rabbi Yeshua Shone, Korban Musaf ein b'mincha, Korban Eitzim ein b'ne'ilah. That, no, it's just the opposite, that on a day when they recite Musaf, they can dispense with the additional Maimed liturgy for Shacharis and for Mincha, but they do have to add the Genesis material at Ne'ilah. But it's on a day when it's a wood gifting day, one of those 9 days out of the year, where there's extra liturgy. Not only do we exempt the Maimad people from the Genesis liturgy at Mincha, but we even exempt them at Ne'ilah. So there's more of a reason for exemption for the wood gifting days than there is for days when we recite Musaf. And Chazer Rabbi Akiva liyoshona ki Ben Azai. And Rabbi Akiva actually retracted and he said, Ben Azai, you're correct. Now, Zman Atze Kohanim V'Ha'am Tisha. So there are 9 days out of the year when the Kohanim and the rest of the nation are allowed to donate wood to the Ma'aracha. Be'echad b'Nisan b'nei Orach ben Yehuda. So the first day of Nisan is the day of Orach ben Yehuda. Now this is a family that when they came from the exile, this family stepped forward, were the most charitable for the wood supply in the temple, and therefore they were able to successfully maintain that this day was their family day for the entire Second Temple era. And they provided so much wood that this wood lasted all the way through Tammuz. So therefore the next day of donation is Be'esrim B'Tammuz. The 20th of Tammuz, B'nai David ben Yehuda. That's the family of David HaMelech. They would give the next amount of wood. B'chamisha ba'av B'nai Parosh ben Yehuda. On the 5th of Av, which is only like a week and a half later, then it was time for the donation of B'nai Parosh ben Yehuda. And you'll note that most of the donations are taking place in the summer, and we'll see why that is. And B'shiva bo B'nai Yonadav ben Rechev. On the 7th of Av, just 2 days later, it would be the donation day of Yonadav ben Rechev. Basara bo B'nai Sana ben Minyamin. On the 10th day of Av, just 3 days later, after that, would be their family donation day. And B'chamisha Aser bo B'nai Zata ben Yehuda. And on the 15th of Av, it was the family of Zata ben Yehuda. It was their turn to give. And the Imahim Kohanim Ulavim V'chomi Shata'a B'shivto. That together with Zata ben Yehuda's donation day, all Kohanim and Levim could give on that day, and anyone else who didn't know what tribe or family he belonged to could donate on that day. Another family which had this long name, B'nai Gon ve'eli u'b'nai Kotzei Kitzios, we'll learn in the Gemara why they were called by that name. Their day of donation was the 20th of Av. B'nai Pachas Moav ben Yehuda be'esrim be'elul. The next family was Pachas Moav ben Yehuda. Their day of donation was the 20th of Elul. And B'nai Adin ben Yehuda be'echad b'Teves. And the family of Adin ben Yehuda was on the 1st of Teves, which was, I guess, a few months later. And Shavu b'nai Parosh Shnia be'echad Shavu b'nai Parosh Shnia. And then and then I guess this was also the day, I think it means that this was also the day that, unless I'm misreading it, hold on a second. Tisha. I'm sorry, I misread it. The 1st of Nisan is Orach ben Yehuda. 20th of Tammuz is the children of David. The 5th of Av is B'nai Parosh ben Yehuda. The 7th of Av is B'nai Yonadav ben Rechev. The 10th of Av is B'nai Sana ben Binyamin. The 15th of Av is B'nai Zata ben Yehuda, and together with them, Kohanim, Levim, and anyone else. And also with them is B'nai Gon ve'elu B'nai Kotzei Kitzios. All of those people would be on the 15th of Av. On the 20th of Av was B'nai Pachas Moav ben Yehuda. On the 20th of Elul was B'nai Adin ben Yehuda. And on the 1st of Teves, Shavu b'nei Parosh Shenia. That on the 1st of Teves, the children of Parosh ben Yehuda, who had previously given earlier in the year, they got a chance to donate once again. And be'echad b'Teves lo haya bo mamad. And this is an example. On the first day of Teves, there was no additional liturgy for the people of the Maimad to recite the Genesis liturgy. Why? Because shahaya bo halal v'karban musaf v'karban eitzim. Because there was so much else. So much more liturgy going on that day. There was the Halal liturgy, there was the Musaf liturgy, and there was the Karban Eitzim liturgy. So therefore, there was no time to recite the additional Maimad liturgy. We continue. Chamisha dvarim iruas avosenu b'shiva sar b'tamas, b'chamisha b'tisha b'av. There were 5 things that occurred to our ancestors, tragedies that befell our ancestors on the 17th of Tammuz, and 5 tragedies that befell our ancestors on the 9th of Av. B'shiva sar b'tammuz. What are the 5 things that happened on Shiva Asar b'Tammuz? Nishtabrahu haluchos, Moshe broke the tablets. Ubutal hatamid, the carbon tamid for the first time in our history was no longer able to be brought. V'huvka aha'ir. The third thing is that the city of Jerusalem was breached. 4 is V'saraf apostamos es Torah, that there was a tyrant named Apostamos, and this is in the Second Temple era. He burned the Sefer Torah. And V'hu amad tzelem behechel. And number 5, there was in the First Temple an idol that was erected in the temple. What are the 5 tragedies that happened on Tisha B'Av? Nigzar ala avosenu shel yikansu. It's number 1 in the Torah, Parsha Shlach. It was decreed upon us that we would have to wander in the desert for 40 years, and the generation that left Egypt would not get into Eretz Yisrael. Number 2, V'charev bayis barishona uvashnia. That's 2 and 3. The first and second temples were destroyed. Number 4 is V'nilkata Beitar, that Beitar, which was destroyed some 50 years after, wiped out 50 years after the Churban Bayesheni, last stronghold of the Jewish people, the Bar Kokhba rebellion, etc. That was finally captured. And number 5, in Echor Shahir, the city of Jerusalem was plowed over and it was completely wasted. Mishenichnas Av Mematin B'Simcha. When the month of Av comes in, so it's not just Tisha B'Av, but the whole month. When the whole month of Av enters, the first days of Av, we have to minimize our joy. Shabbos shechal Tisha B'Av lios b'socha osur milasaper u'milachabes. And the week that Tisha B'Av falls out, we're not allowed to get haircuts or do the laundry. Now, of course, we are more machmir than the terms of the Mishnah, but that's for halachic discussion, not for now. And on Thursday of the week that Tisha B'Av falls out, even if Tisha B'Av were to fall out, let's say, on a Friday, it would be permitted to do laundry and get a haircut so that we could be able to enter into Shabbos with honor. Now, Erev Tisha B'Av, lo yochal adam shnei tavshilin. Now, on Erev Tisha B'Av, what we call the Suda HaMafsekes, the final meal before Tisha B'Av, a person should not eat 2 cooked foods together because it shouldn't be an important meal. It should be a meal of mourning. Lo yochal basar v'lo yishta yain. He should not eat meat and should not drink wine. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer Yishaneh. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says he should eat with a shinoi. Now, what that shinoi is, he doesn't explain. We'll have to wait for the Gemara to clarify this for us. He should do something different. Rabbi Yehuda mechayev b'kfiyas hamita v'lo hodu lo chachamim. Rabbi Yehuda says that you're supposed to turn your bed upside down so that you sleep on the floor the night of Tisha B'Av, but the Chachamim disagreed with him. Amar Rabbi Shimon Gamliel lo hayu yomim tovim liyisol k'chamisha asar ba'av u'chayom ha'kippurim, that he now says that the happiest days for the Jewish people on the Jewish calendar were Yom Kippur and the 15th of Av. Shebohen benos Yerushalayim yotzos bichlei lavan she'ulin shelo lavayis es mi she'ein lo. This was the day when the daughters of Jerusalem would go out in white clothing, and they would have to borrow the clothing. No one could own their own dress, and this was in order to not embarrass a girl who couldn't afford it. So whether you were rich or poor, you wore the same white dress. And kol hakelim te'unim tevila. All of the dresses needed to be toiveled from the previous year because it could be that the girl who wore it previously was menstruating and therefore would make her dress tameh. So you took all the dresses to the mikveh beforehand. Uvenos Yerushalayim yotzos v'cholos b'kramim. And all of the daughters of Jerusalem. Now this is, remember, it's on the Yom Kippur. There's a singles event taking place on Yom Kippur. All of the Jewish single girls are going out into the vineyard on Yom Kippur. Right down the road, there's the avoda going on in the Beis HaMikdash. Okay? And this is also happening on Tu B'Av. Umaha Omros, what would they say to the young men who were standing around watching them dance? A shanda, a scandal. Bachur, sana einecha, ure'ei ma'ata borelecha. That young man, lift up your eyes, look, and see what you're prepared to marry.
No mechitza.
No mechitza. No shadchanim. No resumes. No saw you at Sinai, right? Al titein einecha b'noi, tein einecha b'mishpacha. So first you would say, don't pay attention to beauty, external beauty. Look at family. Now the Gemara is going to give us a brice that's going to tell us it depended upon what the girl's qualities were. If she was pretty, she would say, look at beauty. If she was if she was a little homely, and she had yichus, she'd say, look at mishpacha, my father's a Rosh Yeshiva. If the family had money, in other words, they would highlight whatever they had going for them, okay? Sheker hachein vehevel hayofi isha yiras Hashem hi sisalel, as it says in Mishlei, that comeliness is false and beauty is vain. A God-fearing woman, she should be praised. Va'omer tenula mipriyadeha v'halaluha b'sha'arim maseh. And it also says, give her from the fruit of her handiwork, and they shall praise her in the gates for her deeds. V'chein hu omer, and so does it say, Tse'ena ur'ena benos Tzion, ba'melech shalom ba'ator she'itr lo imo b'yom chasun haso v'yom simchas libo. Go out and see, O daughters of Zion. Go out and look at the King Solomon on the day that his mother crowned him, on his wedding day and on the day of his rejoicing. B'yom chasunaso zematan Torah, that's the day of the giving of the Torah. Now, it seems like the giving of the Torah, what does that mean? It's the day of Yom Kippur. Because why? Because the Luchos came down, the second Luchos came down on Yom Kippur. So therefore, they're making reference to the fact that the daughters of Zion stand in front of King Solomon. Every bacher is like a Shlomo HaMelech, and rejoice. Look at the girls, so your heart can be filled with joy, so that you can find the shidduch, right? And on the day of the rejoicing is the time of the building of the Beis HaMikdash. May it be built speedily in our day. So there must be some connection between Tu B'Av and the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. And I don't think that they said Sheyibona B'Mehera B'Yameinu, because this was going on during temple times. This is going on during temple times as well. So the words Sheyibona B'Mehera B'Yameinu are additional words that were said either if you lived in a post-temple era, or it's being written by the author of the Mishnah, who was just saying Sheyibona B'Mehera B'Yameinu.
It's going on Mashiach's time.
No. It's going on Mashiach's time. If you're saying it in the times of the Bayit Sheni, you wouldn't be saying Sheyibona B'Mehera B'Yameinu. Right? Okay. It's fascinating from a sociological perspective how far afield we have come from this process. Nowhere else in all of Torah Sheba'al Peh do Chazal talk about how to make shidduchim. And yet, the way that we do it today is represented as being halacha l'Moshe Misina, when in reality it's a relatively new phenomenon, which has no relationship whatsoever to the way Chazal prescribed how to find a shidduch. It's bizarre, in my opinion, how it became so ensconced and so much a central part of our social structures in today's world. But of course, I digress. Let us go on with the Gemara. Bishlosha prakim bashana kohanim nosim es kapeim. There are 3 times, or 3 different kinds of special liturgical days where the kohanim duchen 4 times a day. So the Gemara says, Ta'anios u'ma'amados mi'ika musaf. So the Gemara says, what do you mean there are 3 types of liturgical days when the Kohanim duchen 4 times a day? Only one of those days is it possible for the Kohanim to duchen 4 times a day. It's on Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur has a musaf and ne'ilah. On a regular fast day, like on a fast for a drought, or a fast if you're a member of the Maimad, normally there's no musaf on that day. So you wouldn't be duchening 4 times a day, you'd be duchening at most 3 times a day. So the Gemara says, you're right. The way you have to read our Mishnah is as follows. Bishlosha prakim kohanim nosim es kapehem kol zman shemispalalim. There are 3 special liturgical days where the kohanim duchen at every prayer service, which is not the norm. Normally, kohanim only duchen at shacharis and musaf. But during these special liturgical days, kohanim duchen not only during shacharis and musaf, but they duchen at all the prayer services. The yesh mehen arba pa'amim biyom shacharis musaf minchani uneilas sharim. And some of those days, in other words, the most that a kohen will ever have to duchen in any one day would be 4 times. It's not saying that in each one of these days you'll duchen 4 times, but up to 4 times. Shacharis, musaf, mincha, and neilah. What?
This is probably Yom Kippur.
That's referring to Yom Kippur. Ve'elohein shlosha prakim, Taanis u'ma'amados v'yom kippurim. And the 3 special liturgical days where Kohanim duchen at every prayer service are these 3 types of liturgical days. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabbi bar Avua, zu divrei Reb Meir, aval chachamim omrim shachris u'musaf yesh b'hem nesias kapayim, mincha u'ne'ilah ein b'hem nesias kapayim. He says, our Mishnah only goes like Reb Meir, but the chachamim disagree, and they hold that you, even on a fast day, you only duchen Shachris and Musaf, and you don't duchen at Mincha Ne'ilah. Man Chachamim Rabbi Yehuda. Who is that? What opinion is that? That's Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya Shachrus and Musaf Mincha Uneila Kulan Yeshbam Nesias Kapayim Div Reb Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shachrus and Musaf Yeshbam Nesias Kapayim Mincha Neila Ein Bam Nesias Kapayim. And it says explicitly in the Brisa that Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says that even on a fast day you only duchen Shachrus and Musaf, but not at Mincha and Neila. Now we have a third opinion, which is Rabbi Yossi. He says Neila Yeshbam Nesias Kapayim Mincha Ein Bam Nesias Kapayim. That he says, I agree that at Shacharis and Musaf on a fast day you duchen. I also hold that at Ne'ilah you duchen. The only time I hold that you don't duchen on a fast day is at Mincha, which is very strange. Now let's try to understand the three opinions. Let's go. Remember, three opinions. Reb Meir says you duchen at every prayer service, Shacharis, Musaf, Mincha, Ne'ilah. Reb Yehuda says no, only Shacharis and Musaf. And Reb Yossi says Shacharis, Musaf, and Ne'ilah, but not Mincha. So what's the machlokas? B'mai kamiflagi. Rabbi Meir savar kol yoma tamamai lo parsi kahani yadayu b'minchasa mishum shichros. Ha'idin alecha shichros. Rabbi Meir is very logical. He says normally kohanim are only allowed to duchen in the morning. Once you get to mincha, kohanim are not allowed to duchen anymore. Why not? Because we're worried they had lunch and they got intoxicated. So therefore, Kohen is when he's intoxicated can't duchen, and therefore there's never duchening at mincha. But on a fast day, they're not eating, they're not drinking. You don't have to worry about shichur, so let them go ahead and duchen. And by the way, that's why at mincha on a Taanis tzibur, we say birkas kohanim, we say Elokeinu v'Elokei Avoseinu, Barucheinu v'Abracha, etc. Right? Because that's reminiscent of the birkas kohanim. Right? Very logical, right? Rabbi Yehuda savar shachris umusaf dechol yoma lo shchiach shichurs lo gazru b'Rabbanan mincha uneila dechol yoma shchicha shichurs gazru b'hu Rabbanan. So he says like this. He says, I agree with your logic, Reb Meir, but here's my feeling. My feeling is that Kohanim don't duchen at mincha on a regular day because you're worried about intoxication. So I feel that never should Kohanim duchen in the afternoon, because if you let them duchen in the afternoon on a fast day, they'll come to duchen in the afternoon on a non-fast day as well, and that'll be terrible. And Rabbi Yossi savar mincha de'isa b'chol yoma gazru b'Rabbanan, ne'ilah d'lesa b'chol yoma lo gazru b'Rabbanan. Now we have the final opinion, which is Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says, I agree with Rabbi Yehuda in the sense that you shouldn't duchen at mincha, because if you let them duchen at mincha on a fast day, they'll come to duchen at mincha on a non-fast day. But the only time there's ne'ilah is on a fast day. So therefore, if you let the Kohanim duchen at ne'ilah on a fast day, so what? It's not that they're going to come and duchen at ne'ilah on a non-fast day. There is no ne'ilah on a non-fast day. And therefore, the only time I hold that Kohanim should not duchen on a fast day is at mincha. Okay, now, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, halacha kereb Meir. So Rav says we paskin like Reb Meir, they duchen at every service. Reb Yochanan Amar Nagu ha'am kerebi Meir, and he says that the nation has the minhag to go like Rebbe Meir, and V'Rava Amar minhag kerebi Meir, and he says the minhag is like Rebbe Meir. Each one uses a slightly different language to say that it's like Rebbe Meir. So Manda Amar halacha kereb Meir darshinan la b'pirka. What's the difference between the three? If you say that the halacha is like Rebbe Meir, it means that you actively promote this and publicize the halacha, that Kohanim should duchen at every prayer service on a fast day. Manda Amar minhag midrash lo darshinan aruyi morina. If you say that the minhag is like Rebbe Meir, then it means that that's code word for saying we don't publicize it because we don't want Kohanim to duchen on a public level at mincha and ne'ilah, lest they come to do that on a non-fast day. But if someone were to ask us the halacha, they were asking us a shayla, we would tell them, yes, you should duchen at mincha and ne'ilah as well. And the third language, which is that the nation has a custom to go like Rebbe Meir, it means as follows. Even if someone were to ask us, we wouldn't tell them to duchen at mincha ne'ilah. But if there's a synagogue that adopts the custom of duchening at mincha ne'ilah, we don't stop them. We don't advocate it. We don't even tell them to do it if they ask us. We tell them, no, you shouldn't. But if they go ahead and do it, we don't stop them.
That's di'evet. Like di'evet, it's okay.
Once they started b'di'evet, once it becomes, and there are many cases like this in practical halacha as well, that sometimes a shul will adopt a minhag. It's not something that we would have advocated that they do, but once you've adopted the minhag, right, so we don't stop you. For Rav Nachman Amar halacha Koreb Yossi, v'halacha Koreb Yossi. Rav Nachman disagrees. He says the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, that you don't duchen at mincha, and that's taka the way it says the Gemara that we paskin. So now the Gemara says, well, if that's the case, why then do we have duchening at mincha on fast days nowadays, asks the Gemara, if the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, who says not to duchen at mincha? Answers the Gemara, the answer is because mincha is typically davened towards the end of the day nowadays, which is what the prayer service of Ne'ilah would be done at that time. And therefore it's like a Ne'ilah, so therefore again, it's not something that you're going to confuse with for a non-fast day. So the Gemara now says, Dekuli alma mihas shikor asr b'nesiyas kapayim minahani mili. The basic assumption that you've been working with this whole time is that a person who's shikor is not allowed to duchen. Where do you get this halacha from? Where do you see this halacha? Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi mishum bar kapara lama nismacha parshas kohen mevarech leparshas nazir. The answer is, take a look at Parshas Naso. Immediately after the mitzvah of Nazir, we have the mitzvah of Kos Yivorechu. So shall the Kohanim bless the Jewish people, Yivorechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, etc. Why are they adjacent to each other? Lomar ma Nazir asr b'yayin, av Kohen mevorech asr b'yayin. To tell you that just like a Nazir may not drink wine, so too a Kohen who's going to bless the people may not have drunk wine. So maskef la'avua de Reb Zeir of Amri la'oshia bar zavda iman nazir asr b'chartzan av kohen mevarech asr b'chartzan. According to that logic, you should say that just like a nazir is not allowed to eat grape products like grapeseed even when it doesn't intoxicate, you should say the same thing. If a kohen eats grapes for breakfast, he shouldn't be allowed to duchen. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Amar Kra l'sharasu l'varech bishmo. So I have another pasuk. The Torah connects the kohen's sacrificial service to his blessing of the people. Ma mishares mutter b'chartzan, av kohen mevorech mutter b'chartzan. So therefore, just like a kohen who does the avoda is allowed to have grapes, he just can't eat anything intoxicating, so too a kohen is going to bless the people. His only restriction is an intoxicant, not a grape product. So the Gemara says, Ima mishares balmum lo, av kohen mevorech balmum lo. Well, if the Torah connects a kohen who's doing the avoda to a kohen who's blessing the people, then whatever restricts a kohen from doing the avoda should also restrict a kohen from blessing the nation. So therefore, if a kohen is handicapped, he can't do the avoda, so he shouldn't be allowed to duchen either. So the Gemara says, no. So the Gemara says, ha ishkas l'nazir. The Gemara says, but that's why we have the other pasuk that connects the kohen who's blessing to a nazir. A nazir can be handicapped and still be a nazir, so too a kohen can bless the people and still be handicapped. So the Gemara says, why are you connecting the kohen blessing, the kohen duchening, to a nazir to be lenient and allow a handicapped kohen to bless? And you're not connecting it as far as a chumrah that restricting him from eating grape products before he duchens. The Gemara says, Asmach deninu midrabanan ulukula. The answer is, says the Gemara, you're right. All of these psukim are not real drushes. They're really the law that a kohen cannot be intoxicated and have drunk wine when he duchens is only midrabanan. Really midiaraisa, there is no source text. These are all asmachtos, which means they're rabbinic mnemonics to help us remember the rabbinic law. And it's really not a bona fide drasha. These are just reminders. And therefore we have a right to manipulate the psukim to come out in accord with the rabbinic law. You all have a wonderful day.
So where's the minhag for being Shabbos?